Welcome back to the $1 million Tipping Point podcast. Today, Sarah Masci is here, and she is the CEO and founder of Day Rate Mastery. As a reminder, we're brought to you by the Tipping Jar of Wisdom. As an email subscriber, you get exclusive content every Thursday straight to your inbox. So be sure to sign up for the newsletter where you'll get tons of great information. You can find it at Instagram at Virtually Kiri or LinkedIn, Kiri Mohan, and the links are all there. So Sarah Masci today. Woohoo! Okay. Sarah Masci, CEO and founder of Day Rate Mastery, an online company that teaches creative service providers how to work less and make more with a streamlined day rate or VIP day business model. Years of running a traditional design business filled with scope creep, inconsistent timelines, and overlapping client projects eventually resulted in classic burnout, becoming the catalyst that sparked her desire to create a better process. Since its inception in 2019, Day Rate Mastery has helped thousands of freelancers rediscover joy in their work and the freedom they had lost along the way. So welcome, Sarah. We are glad to have you on.
Thank you so much, Kiri. I am so excited to be here and can't wait to chat all things business.
Yes. The VIP days, the first time I came across that was I was actually getting a webpage made for another business of mine. And she was a referral. She came recommended through someone else. And she was like, "Oh, I can do this in a day for you." And I was like, "Oh, I love your design work, but could we do maybe like 2 weeks?" And I really pushed on that. And she ended up giving in because I explained to her my situation. I was like, I've got kids at home some days. I just can't do a full day and get you everything in a full day. So she was really kind and she did, but that was the first time I'd ever heard of it. And since then I've seen it pop up here and there more and more, I think in the past 2 or 3 years. And it is a great idea. So tell us your story. You can find this, I think, online on your website, but how you kind of stumbled into this day rate.
Yes. So, and I will say, yes, day rates and VIP days are not for everyone. Let me just caveat this whole conversation with that, but it is definitely a huge trend in the online business right now. Everyone is, not everyone, we have thousands of students that are coming in through our programs every day and just wanting to take this model and use it for their business. So you will probably see more and more as the years, as the months and years go on. But how did I kind of get here is, as you mentioned, I was a former designer, so freelance web and brand designer. I won't go all the way back to my very beginning because I did not start off as a designer. I kind of just started off trying to figure out things and trying to figure out a way that I could work from home with my growing family. So that was back in 2005. And I did things like blogging, e-com, Etsy, eBay, all of that kind of stuff. And then finally landed on branding and web design around 2010 and kind of grew it from there. But all of those first few years of experimenting with business ideas really helped me make a lot of connections in the business world. And so when I started as a designer, 5 years later, I already had a lot of connections and I had already built up a pretty good network. So finding clients and sales and getting clients was never an issue for me because I had done so many things before becoming a designer. I think that's one thing that so many people struggle with. They start off, right away as a freelancer, and getting clients is the hardest part of the job. But for me, that was never an issue. So I had a lot of clients and they were always being referred to me left and right. At any given time, I had 8, 10, 12 projects going on at one time. I had dozens of website maintenance clients. I had a handful of retainer clients who were paying me every month for ongoing work. And then I was building new brands and new websites every single day. So as you can imagine, I was drowning in work and exhaustion. And I just felt like I was on this crazy hamster wheel of working all the time, not making enough money, people pleasing, because that's just the type of person that I am. And I also had 4 young boys at the time. So my boys now are 18 down to 11, but however many years ago, they were tiny. I had toddlers, preschoolers, all of this home life stuff, plus a full roster of client work. And I was just completely exhausted. So it was in 2018 that I was like, I have to figure out a better way to manage all of this work. And so a former client had come back to me, just sent me an email one day and said, hey, I was wondering if you could give me a quote for this and this and this and this and this, and I need this. Oh, and by the way, could you quote me on this as well? I'm not sure. And I was like, oh my God, like the time it's going to take me to go through all of these things that she needs, write out a proposal, go back and forth with her. Like I just didn't have that time. And so I was like, why don't you just pay me for a day and I'll just get all of it done. And I tried to just like kind of skip over that whole like custom quote proposal process. But because we had previously worked together, she trusted me. She knew that I was going, I was true to my word. I would do what I would say I would do and we would get it done in a day. And so she agreed to that. She paid me. We booked it on the calendar for the following week. I like squeezed it into my already jam-packed schedule and we got it done. And it was amazing for her to just pay me. And then I got to sit here and do the work that I love doing without any distractions. And I took everything else off of my list for the day, no social media, no other client work, got it done. It was the best experience I had ever had in the decade of doing design work. And I knew I wanted to do more of that going forward. So that was in early 2018. And by the end of 2018, I had kind of gotten rid of all my retainer clients. I had gotten rid of all of my maintenance clients. I had slowly wrapped up all of those ongoing projects that were like never ending and just dragging on. And in December, I declared I was no longer available for anything besides one-day intensives. And everything just like my income pretty much not quite, maybe tripled. My income tripled at that point. My life became so much more free and focused and clear and easy and simple because I was no longer juggling all of this work. I was just doing 1 or 2 intensives per week and getting paid pretty well at the time for that work. And that was it. And then I could focus on my family. And of course, I did other business tasks in my free time, like marketing and finally getting my accounting in order and getting all of those other things in order that had always been on the back burner. So yeah, that was 2019. And from there, I continued to do these VIP days. I continued to scale my rates over time. And eventually, after it was only about 6 more months of that, I had other designers coming to me asking me how I was doing it. And so that kind of triggered the whole idea of, well, maybe I should create a course and teach them how to do it. I wasn't really sure how many people would go for it, but I launched a course in July of 2019, and that just kind of catapulted my business into the whole online course world and, evergreen and funnels and ads and all of that kind of stuff. So that's kind of how we got to where we are today. That's the backstory. But yeah, it's been quite a journey to get here.
How much did you charge for your VIP days in the beginning when you first did it to, I don't know, are you still doing VIP days?
No,
Okay.
I'm actually not. So the very first one, I charged $500. And I thought that was.
I was expecting you like 5,000.
No, I was like, oh my gosh, I was like, someone's actually going to pay me $500 for a day? Because like I said, I was into my own little pricing world before that. Obviously not charging enough, not making enough, working all the time. No wonder I was working all the time because I wasn't charging enough and I had to keep taking more clients. But I started at 500 and I had my very last VIP day at the end of 2021 at $3,000.
Okay. That's more in
Yes.
line of like kind of what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Okay. So do you recommend then for your students, obviously, to be charging like 3,000 or above?
Yes, well, I actually do give them my entire blueprint of how I got from 500 to 3,000, because I do think that starting out at a lower price point really helped me get the experience and build up my endurance really to be able to produce quality work in a really fast turnaround. So doing the lower price allowed me to get a handful of test clients in quickly so I could test it out, see how it went, see where I needed to fix things, that kind of thing, and then quickly raise it, and then raise it again, and then raise it again. So I really believe in the model of starting low and building up over time rather than coming right out of the gate at a $3,000 VIP day and expecting people to come clamoring for it.
It also helps like the students tweak it for their business too, right? Like, because they're following your method, but every student's a little unique. Every business is a little unique. So they kind of can play around with what works for them and what works for their clients. And maybe like the person I hired, she was more willing to do 2 weeks because she was more flexible for whatever reason, right? Even though she probably didn't love that I pushed back on that.
Yeah. And the other thing I want to just mention is that our programs had evolved. So that very first one that I launched in 2019, it was just a handful of designers. But since then, we've realized that every single thing that I teach in that course is applicable to all service-based businesses or consulting companies or agencies. So it's not design specific. Like I'm not teaching anything that only designers need. I'm really teaching the big picture of how to structure, how to like create and structure and sell and scale a VIP day with your service-based business.
What are the most popular service-based businesses that could use a VIP day?
Yeah, we have a lot of designers, obviously, copywriters, marketing specialists, social media managers, podcast managers, Facebook ad strategists, bookkeepers, even general virtual assistants and OBMs who have a specialized skill. People who are really good at like one tech platform. Maybe they're really good at setting up project management databases and ClickUp or Airtable or Dubsado setups, like stuff like that. So any kind of done for you services are the best fit for our programs.
How many students do you think leave the course and really take advantage of this and make sure that they have these like VIP days and they're getting the money they want? And on the flip side, when does a student not succeed and why?
We have experimented with this so much in the course. What works to get people to take action, what works to get people to follow through. And I don't have an exact number on like how many, actually go through, but I'd like to say a lot of them. I think like we don't have a whole lot of students who buy the course and then don't show up to do the work. So we have a very active student community and they're always in there asking questions and supporting each other. I don't know. I would probably say our success rate is definitely over 50%. So out of, we've had about 1,000 students come through the program. And I would say over 500 have gone on to be successful VIP day providers. And your second question, kind of what contributes to that success, is I really believe it's how we deliver the content. So we have the core curriculum. Everybody has access to the core curriculum. For a long time, pretty much during the pandemic, from mid-2020 to early 2022, we were, or end of 2021, we were running it really as all evergreen, webinar, funnel, evergreen enrollment, ongoing. There were no live launches. There was no live delivery. It was watch the webinar, decide you want to join, come in, join the course, go through the content, show up on the weekly or bi-weekly Q&A calls, ask your questions, and we're here for you. Kind of like we kind of said, okay, whatever you need, come to us. So we had a lot of success. I mean, our class of 2020, everyone that came in 2020 was like blown away, loved it. And we had so many success stories come out of that year. And then 2021 got a little weird in the online space, and people were having success, but people were getting distracted because the world was kind of in a weird place. And so we don't have as much clarity on what happened in 2021, but we did notice a decline in student success and testimonials as that year went on. So in 2022, we decided to deliver the course as a high ticket coaching program instead, and hoping that like holding their hand a little bit more and being even more supportive would help them through it. But for some reason, that didn't seem to work as well either. So then in mid 2022, we decided to launch a 12-week accelerator. So we went from a paid launch workshop, into a 12-week accelerator in the course. And those students are killing it, because we're basically taking the course content and I'm delivering it. Like, they have the course, but I'm still going deeper on every module and every piece of the content. I go deeper over the course of 12 weeks on a weekly call. We have like internal challenges, like challenges for the group to complete things. There's accountability. There's just like contests and things in there for them to win and earn if they do certain things. And we've had so many people showing up for themselves during these 12-week accelerators. We're just wrapping up our second 12-week session now. And it's been really awesome to see how the difference and how they're just crushing it.
That's so interesting to hear too, for our audience, how you went through these like iterations and you pivoted and you're like, okay, let's try this. This is, 2020 was awesome. Like, I think a lot of people would be like, let's just keep going like this and see what happens, even if sales are down. But you instead said, okay, we're not getting as many testimonials. We're not getting as much success rate. Like, why? Let's change it. Okay, let's change it again. Let's change it again. And now this 12-week accelerator seems to be the sweet spot. And if that ever phases out, you'll change it again.
Exactly.
see what happens. And that's so important, because I think from an outsider who doesn't run a business, they might just say, oh yeah, of course you would do that. But with every change comes risk, because your changes could be worse and you could make even less and then make even less. And then you're just like panicking, right? So I love that you were brave enough to say, like, let's do these different things. Have you had unhappy students? And if so, how have you dealt with that?
If we have had them, I don't really know about them. So, I mean, we've had people come into the program and say, I just don't think this is going to work for me. And they've asked for a refund, but our refund rate is so low. And we've never had anyone blatantly be unhappy with anything inside of the program that I'm aware of. They haven't told us about it, but yeah, I think it's just a matter of us being humans. And I am not a disconnected CEO. Like, I'm not this CEO that's not like, I want to be an integral part of their growth and their learning. And so I am in the community answering questions, talking to them every single day inside of our community and through emails and DMs. And my students aren't afraid to reach out to me and be friends with me outside of class, kind of thing. And so I think that contributes to their happiness and them continuing to take action and get success.
Do they ever come to the Q&A and you're stumped by a question? Have you ever been stumped by a question?
Not really anymore. I mean, this is because it's a 4-year running program. So we have been asked everything imaginable. We've seen so many different varieties of these VIP day offers, whether they're calling them day rates, VIP days, intensives, VIP experiences. Some people are doing VIP weeks. Some people are doing half days. Some people are doing 2 days. And so we've really seen it all at this point. And so there has not been a question that we haven't been able to answer, other than the one question we get all the time, and even more so lately, is how do I find clients? Where do I
get that all the time too. All the time.
There's so many ways. And it's just like, you just feel like you're just repeating yourself over and over again for all of the ways. But the truth is, like I said at the beginning, when I started my design business, I didn't have to get clients. Clients were coming to me. And so I always try to go back to like, what did I do before that to get those clients to come to me? So that's kind of like my biggest like stumped question usually, is how to get clients.
Yes. I was talking to a woman yesterday who was interested in like my advising services, and she, how do I get clients? And I was like, oh, honey, I need like 3 days to fill you in on all the ways. And some of it is like, I think people are also for some reason they get scared, of just like putting themselves out there online, and like those kind of students or those people are like a little tough to like break out of their shell. And I have to be like, what's the worst that can happen? Someone doesn't respond.
Right.
Okay. Like you just got to keep doing it. It's like dating. You just got to keep going and going. And eventually you get a little thicker skin. So you talked a lot about we, right? We. So I'm assuming that's your team. Can you talk to us a little bit about your team?
Yes. So I have a very small team and I like it that way. I had, when I had 2020 was a huge year of growth for us, like huge. And I kind of came to the end of the year and I freaked out a little bit thinking, oh my gosh, like this company needs to have like all these people in place. And so I was looking at different resources for figuring that out. And the reality is like, I don't want to be managing a whole bunch of people. And so I had to figure out a way to keep it really simple, because when I was doing VIP days, it was just me. I was in charge. I had everything in the business automated so that I didn't even need a VA. I actually had a VA as a designer, as a traditional designer. I had a VA helping me project manage. But once I started doing the VIP days, I no longer needed her because there were no more projects to manage. And so I let her go, and I was by myself. And now I've got this big course business that's bringing in hundreds of students, every few months. And do I need to have all these people? And so the answer is no. And the answer for me has been to systematize and automate as much as possible and work and just be really efficient with my resources. And so I have my operations manager. She has been with me since 2019, pretty much when I launched the course initially. She helped me with that. And she's still with me full time. And I also have an executive assistant who helps me with, she helps with a lot of customer service and billing questions, but also my schedule and emails and kind of all of that kind of stuff. So she's the person that makes sure all of our students are happy. And my operations manager is the person that makes sure that I'm happy and that I have all of the things that I need so that I can do my job well.
You said you like to systemize and automate.
Yes.
I kind of want to jump on that. How much do you think you spend on different platforms a month? So you've got your course, you probably have a couple of different systemization, I don't know what you use, ClickFunnels or and then newsletters, and then Dubsado maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, I actually do not spend very much because when I launched, even the year before I launched the course, I had a few little digital products. So I jumped on a lifetime access to at the time, it was a new course platform, MemberVault. So
I know MemberVault. Yeah.
And I jumped on their lifetime plan when they offered it to their founding members. So I think I paid $700 for the
lifetime plan.
And then I also bought the Thrive Cart lifetime plan, which was $600. I bought that back in 2018. And I use WordPress. And as a designer, I design all of my own everything. So all of my sales pages, all of my funnels are built on my domain on WordPress. And the most money I spend is on my active campaign account, which is $150 a month maybe. And then I have an Airtable account to where we keep that's like our CRM. So between Active Campaign and Airtable, those are our two tools that work together with Zapier. I think we maybe spend $200 a month on those tools. And what else? What else is left?
People. Paying your contractors.
Yeah, and then I have my contractors. So really, like the tools that I'm using are not costing me much because I invested in a lot in those lifetime access plans when they were available. I don't use Dubsado. I use Acuity Scheduling, which is $9 a month. I think I might be at the $25 a month plan right now, just so that I can accept payments through Acuity. I was doing that for my VIP days, but at this point, I'm either at 9 or 25.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah.
First
And
person I've talked to. Like, that's just so lucky too, that you jumped on those
I
lifetime
think
plans.
I think it's a matter of, it's the fact that I started this business as a very resourceful bootstrapper who pretty much knew how to do every single thing in my business myself. I could, and if I didn't know how to do it, I could learn how to do it pretty quickly. So I learned how to automate all of my funnels. I learned how to, set up sales pages and thank you pages and checkout pages and everything. Like, I taught myself how to do it all. And so once everything is set up, it's just a matter of duplicating things. And that's what my operations manager is for now. So I basically taught her everything I know. And then she's upskilled herself on some of the platforms that I didn't know as well, like Airtable, ClickUp, and she uses ClickUp. I actually don't, but Zapier and Airtable. And then some of the active campaign things, she's really, improved her skills on there and just taken everything that I started with and built upon it. So the other expenses I do have a bookkeeper. I do have a social media content creator and an accountant, and I have a Facebook, and Facebook ads are like my largest expense. So I do have a Facebook ads agency, and my monthly Facebook ad account is my largest expense.
So let's talk a little bit about when you finally hit that 7-figure mark. How long did it take you to get there?
Yeah. So I would say, about 3 years. Yeah.
Do you have any steps that you can lay out that you really think made a difference in growing your business from 6 to 7 figures?
Just being consistent, being resourceful, using your resource, just using everything that you have available to you, and being like strategic about what you're using, who you're spending money on, looking at your numbers. I look at my numbers every single day, and just making sure I always know what things are looking like, projecting where things are going, and making sure that I can take, I have the resources to make the changes so that things can stay in that, stead where they're going. But the truth is, like, sometimes you'll look at your numbers from a prior 6 months or whatever, and you'll project where you're going, but then the market turns. And that really happened for me. So I, came into 2022 with certain projections, thinking, oh, we're 2020 and 2021 were like this, and we're going to keep going like this. And that didn't happen. So obviously you have to understand that the market controls a little bit of what's going to happen in your business. But as long as you are consistently looking at your numbers, looking at your resources and your expenses, and making sure that you're not spending more than what you're making, that's key. I mean, it blows my mind when I hear stories of people who are not profitable, or they're in the red, or they haven't paid themselves in 2 years. And I'm like, what's it? Why? Like, why are you even running a business? If you're like, the point of running the business is for your own life, right? And so I think just making sure that you're always looking at profitability and staying in a range where you are consistently profitable over time. And when you start to see those numbers go down, you need to go back and look at the drawing board, and what are you doing now? What can you do differently? Where do you need to cut back? Where do you need to put more resources in?
Have you had to change your mindset at all as you've grown your business? Let me give you an example, right? Because you went from doing, design work to VIP days to doing a course with members, which is different. Yes. You've got like client work, and then you did a course. How did you have to shift your mindset to be like, yes, I can teach this. Yes, I will sell this. Yes, I'll do well. Yes, I can let go of my VIP programs for my clients, right?
So of course, my mindset has shifted, 1,000 times over the past 5 years since, I would just say, let's just go back to 2018 to now. So much has changed and my mindset has grown and evolved and all of that stuff along with it. There was a long time where I was like, I couldn't even turn on the video camera on a Zoom call, not even as a teacher, just as a participant. I wouldn't Zoom call with I was just like, ugh, because I was used to being behind my screen, designing in my happy place, doing what I loved. And that was where I was comfortable. And so the first big shift for me, and I'll never forget, I listened to, it was a podcast interview with Amy Porterfield, and actually, no, I take that back. It was a podcast interview with two other people who were talking about going from like being unknown to being successful. And they said in the podcast, he was saying, I want you, the listener, to think of a person in your mind who you think is successful. And so I envisioned Amy Porterfield at the time. And he said, now I want you to realize, like, she was once also very uncomfortable, didn't want to do those things, but she had to, get uncomfortable and get outside of her comfort zone in order to go to that next level, in order to kind of break through. And so doing it scared, feeling the fear and doing it anyway is really what took me from cozy, comfortable freelance web designer to more of a thought leader, a course creator, and, becoming known for this program amongst thousands of online entrepreneurs. Yeah. So,
and I'm sure it wasn't overnight.
No, it wasn't, but it was a shift. I very vividly remember being in my kitchen, making dinner, listening to that podcast and saying, okay, so this is what I need to do. I just need to do it anyway, even if it feels scary. And so I had to get really uncomfortable, and over time, it just was no longer scary. And so I think everything just got easier and more comfortable. And I remember the first few podcast interviews I went on, I was having like a mild anxiety attack before the interview, because I was like, what if they ask me a question that I don't know the answer to? Or I would rehearse, like I would read things and try to memorize things. Yeah. And so, but you just do it. You just have to push yourself over that discomfort. Like we were talking about getting clients, like people are just so scared to put themselves out there, but there's so much magic that happens on the other side of that discomfort. You just have to do it. If you want to grow, you have to do that.
It's so true. It's so true. So speaking of shifts, not only like the mindset, how did you shift your marketing from the designer and VIP days to a course creator?
Yeah, that was tricky for me, because the little mini programs that I had prior to my VIP day course was branding, like learn how to design your brand, learn how to, choose your colors. And that was the same market I was selling brand design to. It was like, you could hire me to do it, or here's my little course on how you can do it yourself. And so I had built up a decent sized email list from my lead magnet for those people. And now all of a sudden I'm teaching designers and not people who want to learn or who want to have their website built. And so I sent out an email to my list and I said, on the slim chance that you are on my list and you are a designer and you're more curious about my VIP days than you are about learning how to design, click here and put your name on this list, because I have something I'm going to be sharing something about my VIP day offer. And we had, I don't remember how many people I had on my list at the time, but I got 75 people to click onto that wait list. And from there, that's when I launched the beta round of my course. And surprisingly, out of that 75 people that got on that wait list, 15 of them joined my course. And so for me, it was really just, okay, I have 15 people who want to learn from me. I'm going to give it my all. I'm going to teach them everything I know. I'm going to help every single one of them have success with this. And they did. And so I got, their testimonials, their case studies. And then I just built upon it little by little. From there, I did another launch a few months later, got 15 more people in. And took kind of what I did to launch it, basically like the emails that I sent out and what I was teaching, and I put it into a framework. And then from there is when I realized that I could create a webinar to teach this framework that would lead into the course. And so I did that in the over the holidays of 2019 and early 2020. And then I came out in March of 2020, actually right at the beginning of the pandemic, with that webinar. And we ran ads to it because my list wasn't big enough for that audience. So I thought, well, let me just run ads to this webinar and see. And at the time, webinar ads were so cheap that that's how the business kind of exploded that first year, was just from that webinar funnel that I had set up. And so I established authority and became known for this thing and built that audience from Facebook ads.
I've heard a lot about Facebook ads. I interviewed someone named Tara Malarkey. Do you know who she is?
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's funny because you mentioned like high ticket coaching program, and that's essentially what she teaches. Is she teaches women how to create a high ticket coaching program, and she talks a lot about webinars and creating Facebook ads out of them. And she also does so in her book. But that's been sticking in my brain recently because I feel like you're the third person maybe who's talked about webinars and Facebook ads.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, it's one of those things where everyone's like, oh, organic marketing, organic traffic, that's the best kind of traffic. Don't pay for Facebook ads, just build relationships. And I'm like, well, if I can put in $1 and get $10 back, why would I not do that? And that is essentially what was happening in 2020. We had very little ad spend and we had an amazing return on that spend. And so why wouldn't we keep doing it? Now, granted, Facebook ads, everything kind of tanked after in 2021, which is why we had to pivot and come up with different solutions and figure out something different. But still to this day, I mean, the majority of my followers and my audience has been grown through paid traffic.
I mean, I agree. I feel like there's nothing wrong with putting out ads. And like, I mean, how many times have I bought something because of an ad?
Yeah.
There's been no shame for me buying that thing. So like, I feel like it's all in like entrepreneurs' heads. And like, if you're bootstrapping, I totally get it. That's like something different. But if you can afford to, and you're going to get, like you said, you put $1 and you get $10 back, like, why wouldn't you? It just seems like a no-brainer.
I had a call yesterday with one of my star students, and he's just finishing up the 12-week accelerator, and he landed on my ad last April, did my 4-day workshop, paid workshop, and took everything he learned and kind of said, he thought, oh, this is cool, but I'm not quite ready for it. And he set it aside. And then he ended up getting hired for another company and for like 6 months. And then that job ended. And he was like, well, what am I going to do now? And he thought, oh, yeah, I remember. Oh, I think at the time when he thought, what am I going to do now? He saw another ad of mine and it reminded him, oh, I have her stuff. I'm going to jump into this new version of the workshop and I'm going to join her course and I'm going to be the star student. And he has been the star student, just crushing it with VIP days in the past 2 months. But it's all because he saw my ad back in last April and set it aside and remembered it, and then saw another ad and it reminded him. And so they absolutely work. And yeah, if you have a proven funnel and you have a system that works and that converts, then I think ads are 100% the way to go.
What are some challenges you face growing your business?
Things stopping working. So things work, then they stop working, then you have to come up with another plan. It's really just the biggest challenge has been changes and fluctuations in the market. And we have experienced so much like radical change in the past 3 to 4 years in this online space that things do not stay the same for longer than, I would say, 2 to 3 months. So you have to constantly be ready to pivot. So yeah, it's just the biggest challenge is, okay, well, that did work, but it's not working now. So what do we need to do?
And do you think right now, your best advice was to go from rolling admissions to like launching this 12-week program?
Yeah. So we still do have rolling admissions. We do have an advertising program. Yeah. So we do the 12-week accelerators 2 times a year, in the spring and in the fall. And then we have rolling admissions throughout the rest of the year. And people can come in at any time, just jump in to, if we're in the middle of an accelerator, they could just jump in. So it's not like you have to start on day one and you have to be with us for the 12 weeks. So like we had students who joined the 12-week accelerator in the fall and went through the whole thing. And then we launched it again at the end of January and February. And I was like, go through it again. Like if you feel you want a refresher, come through it again. And so because whenever you join our course, you actually get a full year access inside of the community and on all the calls. So you get 12 months with me and 2 12-week accelerators within that 12 months.
Oh,
so
okay.
You can kind of jump in whenever you want, or if you just kind of come in the middle. So let's just say, for example, someone comes in the summer months when we're not running an accelerator, they can choose to go back and watch the 12-week calls that we did, or they can wait and do 12 weeks with the fall group. So it's really, we try to make it as flexible for people so they can kind of do what works best for them. And we have that 12-week accelerator, but we also have almost like a 14-day sprint inside of the course. So if you're just joining on a random day and there isn't an accelerator, here's a 14-day roadmap for you to get up and running and get some momentum in your first 2 weeks.
I like that. That's really interesting. I haven't heard that kind of layout before almost. It's nice. Where do you see your business going in the next 5 years?
It's so hard to say 5 years because
I know after we've had all these talks about like pivoting and stuff, I was like, this
I honestly, I can tell you 100%, I have no idea where the business will be in 5 years. Our goal this year is to not create anything new and continue to optimize everything that we've worked so hard to create over the past 3 years. So we're optimizing our funnels. We are optimizing all of our sales pages. We are setting up dashboards so we can really have a close eye on all of our metrics and know where our traffic is coming from. So this year is all about refining and optimizing and continuing like the level of excellence in the delivery of the program that we've become known for. And I just want it to be, I want to 10x that. So that's really the goal, is to make the program be the best it can be and get everything running so smoothly on the back end, because I don't want to grow my team any bigger than it is. And I just want things to continue to run kind of not on autopilot, but we haven't had a whole lot of glitches other than having to pivot for the market. Like we don't have things breaking on the back end, and I don't want anything to break. So it's just making sure it's like maintenance, just like for a car. We need to continue to maintain all of our software and our tools and our programs and make sure that everything is doing exactly what it needs to do, so that I don't have a big expense down the road to go back and fix something that's broken, or realize that this thing that we thought was working really wasn't working, but we didn't know. And so I don't ever want that to happen. So yeah, this year is all about just optimizing, refining, making it even better. I do have a mastermind, so the mastermind is growing, and I intend to continue to grow the mastermind. And that is for our course alumni and our students who want to go to the next level. Once they've mastered the VIP day model, they want to then leverage their skills and talents for a course or a coaching program or a membership or something like that. So it's a very small, limited mastermind with a retreat. And so I want to continue to grow that. So I really want to keep the course business running like it is really well, keep it strong, but then build up on the back end with going even deeper and higher with the students who want more.
Nice. I like it. What advice do you have for other women as they grow their business and want to hit 7 figures?
Just don't be afraid to pivot. Don't be afraid to, if things aren't working, don't be afraid to make a change to it. But on the flip side, give give everything a chance. It might not work on the first launch. If you're launching a course or a product, the first launch isn't going to be great. I mean, my first launch, I had 15 people. So actually I thought that was pretty good, but then we've gone on to enroll hundreds of people thereafter. And so what would have happened if I gave up after that first one and thought, I don't know, this wasn't really that successful. I only made $10,000 from it. It wasn't like no big deal. Looking back, like just to stick with things and continue to refine and improve upon what you've already created rather than going back to the drawing board and trying new things all the time.
Where can we find you? Please share with us your website, social media handles. How can people connect with you? Anything you have to offer our listeners too?
Yeah, I am at sarahmasci.com. So you can find everything there, or on Instagram at Sarah Masci. And I have some really great resources, whether you just want to learn more about VIP days. I have a free checklist. It's a pretty detailed checklist. So it's a good freebie. You can check that out. I also have it's our entry-level workshop, the workshop that we use 2 times a year to launch into our accelerator. We do have that available on demand, so you can grab that workshop. It's called Launch Your VIP Day, and that's available for you. And then we also have the course, VIP Day Plug and Play Collective, and that is our signature program where you can learn everything you could possibly need to learn about this business model and going all in on it. So those are the 3 main kind of entry points into our world. And from there, like I said, we do have the mastermind, and we try to keep that to our students and our alumni who are kind of progressing out of VIP days and wondering what's next.
What is one philosophy, mantra, or quote that you try to run your business by?
The biggest one for me is action breeds confidence. So taking action every single day, one little action step every day will give you the confidence that you need to step forward in your business, and you'll learn so much from those action steps. Yeah.
Move the needle just a little bit. One of my first interviews for this podcast, this woman said that, and I just loved that. I was like, move the needle just every day, just a little bit. And I was like, almost like can add to yours. Once you move the needle, you get more confident.
Yes. Yeah. And the other thing is the micro pivots. So like, don't be afraid for those tiny little micro pivots. And that's, you'll be able to look back 5 years later and think, like, it's crazy how many little pivots you take from all of those little micro actions that you're taking to get from where you were to where you want to be.
Well, thank you so much for joining me on this interview, Sarah. I really appreciate it. And for our listeners, if you are listening to this show and you found it informative and valuable, just do me a little favor, help grow the show and share it with someone else, especially, with Sarah. If someone's interested in creating a course, having a VIP day, please share this with them and they will thank you for it. Now we are going to have exclusive questions. So if you're not a newsletter subscriber, please sign up because Sarah's going to go into a few actionable advice items for us. So Sarah, thank you again. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, Carrie.